So, hello everyone and welcome. We are so glad you joined us today as we celebrate National Nutrition Month here at Jacoby and North Central Bronx. I'm excited to be joined by our amazing teams of dietitians, five dedicated professionals who are here to support, educate, and empower you on your health journey. Whether you're looking to eat healthier, manage a condition, or simply learn more about nutrition for you and your family, you are in the right place. Today, it is all about you. This is your opportunity to ask questions and get expert advice and walk away with practical tips you can start using right away. So don't be shy, drop your questions in the comments and let us talk about how we can build healthier lives together. Let's get started. So our first question is for Jamie. What is a dietitian?
Okay. So a dietitian are qualified health professionals like ourselves, right? We specialize in food, nutrition, and dietetics, and our goal is to promote health counseling, nutrition counseling. We can help our patients manage both acute and chronic diseases. And I also like to note, like, one thing that can set us apart from a typical nutritionist, right? We all have the educational background, right? We all have our master's degree, did a 1,200-hour supervised practice. Therefore, and then we also have taken a national registration exam, right? So that makes us qualified to help counsel our patients towards a more healthier lifestyle.
Awesome. So, Jamie, can you just give us a little bit of your background?
Yes, of course. So my name is Jamie. I am a dietitian here at Jacoby. I'm primarily in the primary care clinic. I also do help out with our oncology outpatient services, and I have also helped out in our women's health clinic. So I help support a wide variety of different patients, from our pregnant populations to our patients that are undergoing chemotherapies to our primary care patients. So I'm all around.
Yes.
All around.
So I guess we can start off and continue starting off and asking everyone to just let us know who you are and what is it that you do here at Jacoby and North Central Bronx. So since we started with Jamie, I guess we can start with
Sure.
you.
Hello. So my name is Wilson Sanchez. I'm also a dietitian here, primarily working at the primary care, department. So I'm there. I help patients for many different reasons, including, people with diabetes, some obesity that they're looking to lose weight. So I help them with that, and all, just general people who just trying to eat better, to improve their health and lifestyle. So that's why I'm here.
Hi, I'm John. I've been with Health and Hospitals for about 25 years. Over the past 6 years, I've been in the pediatric clinic in North Central Bronx Hospital, which has been a great experience. I get to help kids and their families get healthy. We have a great weight management program. I help kids with picky eating issues, help kids with some weight issues, and just all around, it's like, it's very important for the whole family to be involved. So it's more like family counseling. It's been a great experience. We have great providers there and also a great social work team.
Hello, my name is Veronica. I'm one of the bariatric dietitians. I've been working for Jacoby Medical Center for about 15 years. However, for the past years, I've been working for the bariatric department. In the bariatric department, what we do is we perform weight loss surgery, mainly sleeve, but also gastric bypass. If you need information, if you'd like to, if you need, or if you have somebody if you know somebody who needs bariatric surgery, please refer them to us, and we'll provide the information later in the session.
Happy National Nutrition Month. I'm so happy to be here on the final day. I think it's a very, amazing space that we have dietitians from all departments together. You don't see this all the time. But I'm Rosemary Lopez. I'm the dietitian at Jacoby's Lifestyle Medicine Program. And the Lifestyle Medicine Program came to Jacoby ongoing almost 3 years ago. It was a piloted program at Bellevue that was super successful, had a very long waiting list and very high demand. And lifestyle medicine truly is one of a kind, and it really focuses on different areas of lifestyle. So, all the time we might talk about nutrition and exercise, but oftentimes we're missing the other links, right, for vital health. So we need to think about, social connections, sleep health, avoidance of risky substances, and of course, social connections. So a lot of our patients are supported in all of these different areas. We do help patients really develop sustainable habits. So it is a pretty lengthy program by the time patients finish. My main role is to help patients, of course, while they're in the program, when they're enrolled. To enroll into the program, someone within the health system, whether that's your doctor, primary care provider, or any other medical provider, can send an internal referral, or patients can actually refer, which is amazing because you can just call, ask, and book an appointment with a provider. The lifestyle medicine programs at this time is across 7 sites and all the 5 boroughs. So widely available. I do want to talk about how our program is actually amazing in the sense that it's very interdisciplinary, right? So we have psychologists, medical providers, nurse practitioners, community health workers, and we have, I range from doing group sessions to individual sessions and just really being available for my patients along the way. We also provide great resources like recipe books and produce boxes as well. So that's my main role in the clinic.
Awesome. So let's jump back into the questions. What are some things people can do to stay on top of their personal nutrition journey? And I'll just leave it to all of you all to answer those questions.
Well, I want to start. So one thing I want to say, start simple, keep it simple, and try to build meals around fibers and protein. Those 2 things, you combine those 2 things together, that will help you for many, many, many different things, right? It will keep you full longer, and it will help you with energy, and and again, satiety is one of the big things people don't, with dieting. I don't want to call it diet, but those 2 things, you combine it together, fiber and protein, it's very powerful to manage diseases and, weight management also. Yes, anything else to support?
Well, I would say watch your portions. Watch your portions is very important because we usually overeat. This is how we gain the weight. So never eat from a bag. Never eat from a big bowl. Plate your food, and never eat more than beyond the point of satiety.
And I think another important thing is people take like an all or nothing approach. You always have to have moderation. You're not going to be perfect. So people feel that they're good for 4 days and then maybe they'll fall off a bit and then they just stop being healthy. The real trick for longevity and to be healthy for a long time is to not try to be perfect.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with John. Sometimes quick fixes, trends, eye-catching headlines, those things really grab our attention, but unfortunately they're not sustainable. And shameless plug, I think that working with a dietitian is definitely ideal. And thankfully within this healthcare system, we have amazing dietitians, both outpatient and inpatient. So definitely, seek assistance from a dietitian.
How does someone secure services for this service?
For me, in the primary care department, you just need to ask for referral to your primary care doctor. And it's that easy. Just ask for a referral, and they'll be happy to put a referral to see us.
What are things that gets misconstrued or misunderstood about nutrition?
Yeah, I think I could expand on that one. From what I was mentioning is that we do live in a time where there's so much rapid information that it's so hard to filter it all out. And I think every single day there's a new, item, new supplement, new way of eating that might change your life in some way. But unfortunately, a lot of these might not come from experts. A lot of these might be, potentially risky to follow if there isn't enough scientific evidence. So I think that a lot of the time, people and just the general public really look at these things and kind of cling on to them when, it's very important to start with lifestyle first. And then again, sustainable change is really, when we do the quick fixes or try to really aim for that, unfortunately, sometimes we have that rebound effect or we get discouraged or oftentimes we feel like we're, not doing well enough. But it does take really, doing these things to build habits, and that way we can really maintain them.
John, how does diet affect everyday life?
Well, of course, there's the direct effect of diet. We need good nutrition for energy, to prevent disease, to think properly, for brain power. But I think there's another aspect of it that we miss, is if we practice good nutrition and are good to ourselves, it kind of brings out a positivity and a good outlook on life, that we're doing something good for ourselves. And I think that's another really important, is the mental aspect of it. So, of course, we need to eat healthy for physical things, but also for our mental status.
And where do we get credible information about diet and nutrition facts?
Well, of course, we're bombarded by TikTok and Facebook. There's a lot of information out there. Your best bet is to go to government websites, education websites, nutrition.gov, USDA website, Eat Right, which is our organization. Also, seek out a registered dietitian if you need more, one-on-one counseling. If you need to, have more specific things. If you have some kind of health issue that you're going through, you need to seek out registered dietitians also.
And I know, back then we had the food pyramid, and everybody knew how it looked and everything. Is the food pyramid still a thing?
Well, it became a thing again this year. They kind of, with the new recommendations that came out, they kind of presented a new pyramid, which was upside down. Actually, the old pyramid was phased out 15 years ago. So it was replaced by MyPlate, which is actually a better graphic, I think, to teach. I still teach with MyPlate. So the upside down pyramid and the new recommendations, there are some indications. It's a little bit confusion if you look at the graphic. Your best bet is to actually read the recommendations. There are bullet points of those. So it's still there, but it's difficult just from that graphic to kind of get a good idea of what we need to be doing.
Yeah, awesome. Jeannie, if someone wanted to get into this field, what's their first step?
Okay, so I guess finding the right program school-wise for you. Now there is a requirement of having a master's to become a registered dietitian. So they do have some coordinated programs, which is doing your learning coursework while doing your practical. And then I guess there's a more traditional program where it's doing all your coursework first and then the practical part. But once you figure all that out, I would say get involved, volunteer, right? I volunteer with some great organizations like City Harvest or Eating Westchester if you're in that area, or maybe your local hospital, right? Or if you want to go a step further, right, get a job in the related field. So maybe working as a food service worker in a hospital, just to kind of get your feet wet and see what that's all about. I think getting some volunteer or work experience that's relevant to the nutrition field could be a really great start and help you see some of the options that are out there.
Nice. So we have a question from our Facebook Live. Question, I'm going to open it up to you guys to answer. This is coming from Shahid, and the question is, what are some ways we can help to support sustainable habits outside of the program, the person that doesn't have access to that resource? It's a deep question, right?
Can you come again?
So, what are some ways we can help support sustainable habits outside of the program, of a person that doesn't have access to that resource. So I guess it's the resource that we provide here at the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I would say, I personally think probably, trying to get the right information first. I think it start there, you know what I mean? Because it's all information. So I would try my best not to get information, nutrition related information from like social media. To some extent, there are a lot of great people out there providing great information, like here, right? To some extent, like TikTok and things like that. And then from there, try, keep it simple. Nutrition, it's not meant to be difficult. It has become very confusing over the last decades because there are so much information out there, right? But the basic works very well, just the basic, right? Think about fiber, and that could just be a high fiber cereal mixed together with soy milk, and then top of, plus a protein shake. There's not a lot of thoughts. You don't have to cook all the time. You know what I mean? To make healthy choices. I think one of the first things definitely is just get the right information because it starts there. I want to add to, I don't know if you guys want to add something else to it.
Yes, I'd like to add something. So my recommendation is focus on a whole food diet.
Yeah.
I know that person said you don't have to cook everything from scratch, but my recommendation is try to cook everything from scratch because that would be a whole food diet. If you buy everything prepackaged, processed, then it's not a healthy diet, most likely.
I also want to add on to that if you don't find yourself having availability of resources, that's actually very, it's rampant. A lot of the times we might want to make changes and there's so many barriers and challenges that we might face. And really starting off the conversation. So speaking with your providers, seeking referrals, for example, community health workers, social work, that oftentimes can connect you to amazing resources or just point you in a direction with more information, right? More information means that we get to at least start accessing things. For example, do we qualify for some food programs? Health and hospitals have so many great opportunities like groceries to go and things like that. So, finding yourself well supported. So thankfully, oftentimes we work together with other professions. So seeking support is also a great step forward as well.
Awesome. Another question is, what are some foods to avoid overall?
Well, foods and drinks, I was one of the first things that I told all my patients to try to avoid. It's pretty much sugary beverages, sugary drinks, because that alone can contribute to a lot of calories and added sugar and things like that. But then in terms of food, I would say things like high in saturated fat because it has been linked to cardiovascular disease. Things like bacon, high meat consumption, especially if they're not like lean and things like that. Tallow, which was mentioned in the new pyramid. So try to
That's one of the controversies.
yeah. So things like that, try to avoid that, and candy obviously, and eat more whole food, like Veronica said. That's the bulk of it. I think you don't have to be perfect. No, this is not. But if most of the times you make good choices like whole food, let's say about 85% or so, 10%, 15% of the time, if you misbehave in terms of food, that's not going to cause major issues in your health. I don't think so. So focus on whole food, and you got this.
Anyone else?
That's like the all or nothing approach. We have to enjoy. If you enjoy chips or ramen, have it once in a while and don't sweat it. Next day, just eat healthy and exercise.
And go back to it.
And I do have a tip. Choose foods, even if you have to choose something that's processed, like in a box, in a can. Choose something that has less than 3 ingredients in it, and always read the ingredients. If it's a word in there that you don't know the meaning of, you don't know how to pronounce it, don't get that food item. Simple as that.
Awesome. What are some nutritional hacks parents can use if they are consistently on the go?
Honestly, I go to my simple think fiber, protein. fiber protein. Those are gonna be the two best friends. If you're on the go, like for example, one thing that I did before I came here was a Greek yogurt, which contains about 20 grams of protein. Then I added half a cup of nuts to add fiber, more protein, had a small apple. Boom. You know what I mean? So you don't have to make it complicated, you know. So fiber and protein, whatever that is for you. You may not like Greek yogurt, but let's say you can select things like a high fiber cereal. You know, I don't want to promote any brand here, but any high fiber cereal with still milk or soy milk and then protein shakes, things like that. That's easy, and you can just take it with you everywhere you go. You know, or ham or nuts with a fruit. Combine those two things together. You can take that with you everywhere you go.
Also, prepping is important. So if you have at least one day a week that's free, think about what's going to happen so you're not caught off guard. Really important. Buy sandwich bags. Buy bulk raw almonds. It's easy snack, string cheese. You know those things you can cook, grab and go. You can hard boil some eggs on a Sunday. Those will be available for the next 4 days. That's an easy grab and go. So there are ways to do it. Prepping is really important.
Big time.
How can parents support their kids in keeping to a healthier lifestyle?
I think you have to be a role model. That it start there. You don't tell your children eat vegetables and fruits when you are avoiding vegetables and fruits. So it starts with you, parents, right? You have to be a role model. They have to see you eating vegetables and fruits, whole grains, and they hopefully after 10, 11, 12 times, you know, they are more inclined to eat more vegetables and fruit after they see you so many times, right? So I think it starts there, right?
And get kids involved. So I have my picky eaters who don't like vegetables, bring them to the supermarket, ask them to pick out something that looks fun, ask them to help them prepare it. You know, if they're part of the process, they'll be more likely to try stuff and they feel like they have more power over what they're going to eat. So again, being a role model is really important, and build healthy relationships with food. So even the junk food, you know, it's not the best, but don't indicate it as something bad because, you know, that can lead to some issues later on.
That is true. Like classifying food as bad but good, that ultimately doesn't lead to anything positive in the long term. So I'll try to avoid that type of classification. Oh, this is bad. This is good. This is good. You know, at the end of the day, it's all food. They all provide energy, and they just have different purposes depending on the goals that you have.
But I also think from my experience with my child, I only have one child, but I learned a lot. So if you restrict something, the child will go and get it eventually. So it's better if you bring it. I mean, if he asks for it, you give it to them. Like my son was drinking Arizona iced tea, which we all know it's not good. It's loaded with sugar. And he said it's because you never allow me to have any of these drinks. So I learned the hard way. You give kids some freedom.
Yeah, treat them like adults. You know, just talk to them about it. You know, that's one way to approach it also.
There's a lot of supplements out there. What are some things to look out for to make sure we are getting credible products?
I would always make sure that any supplement that you do buy, say that it's like third-party tested, because there's unfortunately not any regulation over supplements, and there's so many of them out in the market. So by starting there and just doing your due diligence and making sure that the supplement is third-party tested to start.
And I will go for the well-known brands like Centrum. And also you can look for a logo is USP. It says USP. There's a logo that you can see it's clearly on the bottle, and look for that logo.
It means that it has been tested
Yeah.
by a third party. That's what it means.
I also want to highlight that that's extremely important, because if you are taking supplements that are not prescribed, you must really, mention it to your doctor. Now, oftentimes herbal supplements, especially, there are risks digestive issues, and oftentimes there is what's called drug-nutrient interaction, where you might be taking medications that might interact with some ingredients in these supplements. So it's really important to become informed, and just like Jamie and Veronica mentioned, you should seek information as to whether it has safe ingredients, as to is it safe for you to take specifically. Maybe someone else has taken it, but they're not you, so you have to know. Be kind of a smart consumer in that sense. Really get acquainted with what's in these supplements.
What are some healthy food myths that can throw you off track if you're trying to maintain a healthy diet?
Yeah, there's a lot of myths.
There's a lot of
a lot of the work we do is debunking myths. So we spend a good chunk really going over this. But I would say definitely demonizing foods, and one of those being carbs. So sometimes carbs is very controversial because we say carbs are bad, no carbs. But once we learn what kind of carbohydrates, what kind of whole foods really support our health, then we start to really connect the dots and understand. There's a major difference between carbs that have fiber and have nutrition, and those that are often processed, refined, and don't support our health so much, right? So demonizing foods, right, all or nothing, just like John keeps mentioning, I definitely echo that, because it's true. If we say we don't want something for so long, what is our mind going to eventually be kicking us about that same food that we keep saying we don't want? So that's definitely one of those myths. Fruit is bad is also one of those myths as well. It's very sad that fruit sometimes gets a very bad reputation, because again, there's a difference between lollipops, Fruit Loops, and fruit. Right? So we have to think about food as a kind of a nutrient package. Fruit is going to support your health by having fiber, vitamins, minerals, and so many other wonderful properties like antioxidants and phytochemicals, right? So it's not really the same when we take a look at it, as an overall, food and how it supports us.
For some people who have difficulty with supplements, be it pills or powder, what are the best ways to still get their daily nutritional needs, sorry.
Food first, all the time. Food first. Concentrate on, for example, if you're looking for calcium, iron, there are some nutrients of concerns, right? So when we think about iron, calcium, the great thing is that all of our food label actually lists these vitamins and minerals so that we're aware and have adequate amounts of them. If there isn't deficiency present, then we really have to think about how we can diversify the way that we're eating. If supplements are needed, oftentimes that's due to deficiencies. Or we're having a really hard time for other reasons, like other conditions. Maybe we don't digest things so well, malabsorption. But it's important for us to really seek food first, and then supplements are exactly that. They supplement your eating patterns. So they're kind of an added bonus. But replacing food sometimes can be really difficult because supplements don't have fiber and other things that sometimes food does. So kind of really, finding a good balance between that.
What's an easy meal to get a great amount of protein and not suffer the loss of food we love?
So you can get very creative with this. First of all, I want to say that, you don't have to give up food that you love. You don't have to give up food that you enjoy, right? In a way, all you have to do is practically manipulate the macronutrients, manipulate the carbs, the protein, and the fiber, and the fats in a way that you can include that kind of the food that you like. For example, easy meal, it's like what let's say, for example, you like pasta, right? So you can still include pasta into your daily routine, just maybe reduce the amount of pasta or replace regular pasta with a multigrain pasta. And then add the protein, which is going to increase the protein a little bit more, and then add some fiber and things like that, right? That's one way. For example, if you're a person who like eating tacos, right? So keep the tortillas, right? You can keep the tortillas. If you want to go further, you can replace that regular tortilla with one that is high in fiber or protein, and then add, you can add beans and chicken and things like that to up the protein. And if you feel a little more motivated, you can add some veggies in there, or spinach and things like that, right? So you don't have to really give up the food that you enjoy. You have to probably reduce to some extent and then just add more protein, manipulate the macros. That's what I would say to it. Right?
what are the basic nutritional dense foods that you can find on any budget?
Yeah.
Oatmeal
Yeah.
is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
It's very affordable, cheap. Another one is lentils and beans. Very affordable, packed with nutrition, protein, fiber. I keep talking about fiber and protein.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite micronutrients.
Yes.
You know?
I love, Wilson was reading my mind. So whole foods really that we can find on a budget. I mean, lentils, beans, chickpeas, definitely relying at times even canned, no sodium, low sodium rinse-in, frozen vegetables, which oftentimes do provide us such great nutrition, and we often overlook them because they might be canned or frozen. But oftentimes they're just as nutritious and very convenient. So absolutely, oatmeal, absolutely, whole rolled oats, a staple that we can definitely have often. And if we even add ingredients, just like Wilson was given examples with like soy milk or something like that, we make it even more nutrient dense. So that word nutrient dense is kind of a term that we use for multiple health benefits. Again, with fiber, vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals. So it's kind of a nice powerhouse of nutrition. And usually the legumes, your fruits, vegetables, and whole grains are definitely great to rely on.
And they actually added canned vegetables and frozen vegetables on the new pyramid, which is one of the good things that they added.
What is the minimum sodium intake for someone who is battling high blood pressure?
So ideally under roughly 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day, but definitely not more than 2,300 milligrams per day, definitely. And you gotta read nutrition fact label, and if you are choosing whole food most of the times, you don't have to worry so much about you don't have to worry so much about sodium intake, right? Because most of the sodium that people consume, generally speaking, come from like highly processed meats, highly processed foods, and restaurant food that you buy at a restaurant, because you're not controlling. They add a lot of salt to make the food taste amazing. We all love that, but if you're eating outside, that's something you have to watch out.
Now, when eating outside foods, like going out to a restaurant, how should we be eating the food? Should we be finishing the whole entire plate, or should we just take half of the plate? How we take the rest to go? Like, how should someone who is dealing with high blood pressure or even diabetes, how should they be eating out?
Okay, that's a very good question. So one of the first things that I would say is start with think about what you're drinking first, right? Because what you're drinking can potentially add a lot of added sugar to your meals, right? So think about that and probably just choose, water or maybe 0-calorie drinks. That would be the first step. And then what I would do is think about, what you're gonna put on your plate. The bulk of it should be non-starchy vegetables and protein, lean protein ideally, right? Avoiding fried foods and things like that. And then you can add, to even make it a little more powerful, a little bit of whole grains, right? So that could be, the brown rice, the quinoa, the barley, multigrain bread, whatever. And then it's just a matter of that, trying to limit the sodium intake, right? So maybe asking for the sauce or the dressing on the side, so you have control over how much you put on your meals. And then even some of the condiments may be high in sodium, things like that. So maybe choosing one that is low in sodium may be beneficial. Like ketchup sometimes may be high in sodium, or hot sauce. Some of those hot sauces are very high in sodium. Maybe you can choose one that is low in sodium. In order to do this, you have to read the nutrition fact label, right? You have to know it. Things like that, right? That's the bulk of it. And another thing that you can do is, in order to reduce the sodium intake, you go and they give you a lot of food, and you eat half of it. Take half home or split it with somebody else. But for somebody, dealing with diabetes and hypertension, I would say, think about your veggies, your protein first, and avoiding sugary drinks. Most of the times, definitely.
And I know you talked about condiments of ketchup and hot sauce. What are other condiments you should avoid when trying to lose weight or dealing with hypertension?
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say avoid, but just things to be mindful of, right? So I would always start first with reading that nutrition facts label on the back of the bottle of the container, right? Because it's going to tell you the serving size. And sometimes we may or may not stick to that serving size, right? We'll often use more or whatever that may be, right? So like, let's say for hypertension, right? Things to look out for, or condiments that could be high in sodium, things like soy sauce, right? Ketchup could be high in sodium, barbecue sauce, things like that, steak sauces, hot sauce sometimes, right? So always check the nutrition facts label on the back to see what the serving size is and how much sodium is going to be in there. If you can opt for lower sodium options, that's always a great way to go as well. Like low sodium soy sauce, for example, right? And then, like, I guess in the setting of like weight management, things to be mindful of some condiments that could be higher in fat content. So like things with like mayonnaise or like creamy salad dressings, right? Which I always go back to what is the serving size of that. So we try not to go over that too, because sometimes, let's say for a salad dressing, it could be like oil and vinegar, olive oil and vinegar combination, which is healthy. But if you're having like 3-4 tablespoons of olive oil, those calories can add up and they may not support your weight loss goals. So everything in moderation, I think, and always read that nutrition facts label to see exactly what the serving size is, what the calories are, what the sodium is, the things that you need to look out for to support your goals.
So we have one question on the Facebook Live chat. It says, is juicing fruits or vegetables still a healthy way to do, or am I stripping off the nutrients from it? And would it be better to just eat it right away?
This person answered their own question, but in an amazing way. The thought process was great. Relying on juicing our fruits and vegetables unfortunately breaks down. The fibers are broken down. Juice extractors, blenders, allow your body to do the work. And fiber, again, when it's intact, extremely beneficial. Digestion begins once we start chewing. So we definitely, process liquids different than the whole fruits and vegetables. And absolutely, you'll be missing out on that whole nutrition. So always seek in whole fruits and vegetables as your main source, so that way you get the most out of them. If times you might be having, a natural juice or something like that, nothing wrong with that, especially maybe in a hot day, for example. But relying on daily use of those, I would say definitely stick with whole fruits and vegetables for sure.
And some people think smoothies are a healthier option, which can be, but most people just do like a fruit smoothie. So there's like probably 4 or 5 servings of fruit in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's way too much fruit. So if you're going to do a smoothie, you need to just a small serving of fruit, get some protein in there, get some green spinach and baby spinach in there, and make it balanced.
And to add to that, so when we extract the juice from the fruits, even though fruits are healthy, they're very healthy, they're also high in sugar, natural sugar. So to get a cup of fruit juice from apples, how many apples do you have to juice? I don't know, 3, 4, it depends on the size of the cup, but then you get a lot of sugar from those fruits. And you drink it. It's very easy to drink your calories versus eating your calories.
Better. So to sum up, eating vegetables and fruits is better than juicing, in case.
For kids adjusting to a new country, how can parents support both their nutrition and their comfort with familiar foods?
For kids coming from a different country,
Yeah. So I know, like, you have a lot of folks in like Hispanic cultures. You also have like Caribbean cultures. They're set in their ways. Sometimes they love their rice and they love their or meat.
I think we have to honor the traditions, but also, like what you stated, those cultures tend to be very starch heavy. So it's about portion control. Also, and we want to get vegetables in there. So we want to kind of combine. We don't want to take away their culture, but we need to be careful of portion control. Also, when kids tend to move here, there's a lot of fast food, especially, fast food options, chips, juices. So I've seen kids just go, hog wild, eating all this stuff. So we need to teach that off the bat. We need to be careful that they don't eat that and then alter their tastes, then they're not going to really be interested in their home cooking again. So we have to find a balance there also.
As a mom of three, it was more of trying to get my children to be vegetarians rather than just letting them make that option for themselves. And then once I saw my children making the option of wanting to eat meat, it was let you eat it now, and then when you get older, you want to make that decision. It's your decision.
Right.
What veggies do we avoid for high blood pressure and diabetes?
What vegetables to avoid for high blood pressure and diabetes? I cannot think about
None.
any vegetables to avoid.
None. All
I
all
eat them
foods
all.
Eat them all.
Well, so that we do have starchy vegetables,
Right.
corn and
Right.
potatoes, sweet potatoes,
Potatoes,
that
yes.
we do need to treat like rice and pasta.
Yes.
So those are definitely healthy, but we need to have the portion control with those.
Right.
So if we do have corn or potatoes, we don't have rice in the same meal. So or tortilla or things like that. So we want to be careful of those two starchy vegetables.
Yeah, for those people with diabetes, definitely.
What are tips or tricks for going out? Oh, we already talked about that one. We talked about that one too. What are some simple tips we can follow when snacking? Snacking is a big thing.
I love this. I call it formula. So tips: combining fruit with a protein or healthy fat. So again, combine a fruit with a protein or healthy fat. Let me give an example. So let's say a fruit may be apple, right? That's a fruit. And then you can combine that with a protein that could be a Greek yogurt, or that could be walnuts, which is healthy fat and protein at the same time. So that combination is you're doing a lot of things there. You're adding fiber, you're adding protein and things like that. And if you are a person who have diabetes, that can actually be beneficial for you too. When you combine that fruit with the protein and healthy fat, that kind of going to help with the blood sugar spike. So it's not going to go as high. It's going to be more level, right? It's going to help control the sugar to that extent when you do that combination. As long as the portion size is there too, So
as long as you eat when you're hungry, right? You don't just snack
Well,
because you're
I was going to say something like, even before then, like, just check in with yourself if you're feeling in a snacky mode, and like, are you hungry? Like, do you just need the meal first? Has it been a while since you last eaten? Like, I mean, we're in New York City, so we're all busy, and it's always constant, from one thing to the next. So yeah, have that check in with yourself first and say, like, am I just looking for a snack to eat, or am I actually hungry? Right? And if you are hungry,
bored or
have a
hungry,
meal, right? Yeah, if you're hungry, have the meal, right? And then, if you, depending on what the snack is, if you still want that after, like, reassess after you ate first.
And drink water, hydrate.
Drink
Hydrate.
water.
Many times we mistake our thirst for hunger, we start to eat, but in reality we're thirsty. Plan ahead, have healthy snacks on hand, fruits. As Wilson mentioned, something that's high in protein, no for a stick of cheese, an egg, as John said
And
earlier.
popcorn, like plain popcorn.
Plain
You can
popcorn,
do your own at home. You can buy a pretty cheap air popper.
Yeah.
Great crunch, good fiber. It's a a much better choice than like chips or pretzels.
And very high in fiber.
Now, when it goes back to snacking, there are some snacks that I guess are unhealthy, but we still love them anyway.
yeah.
What are some unhealthy snacks that we can enjoy in moderation?
All of them.
All of
Yeah, I mean,
For instance, I love
Moderation is the key.
chocolate. Like,
Yeah.
if you like chocolate, get a good quality chocolate. Have a couple of squares once in a while. You don't have to eat the whole bar. You don't have to get chocolate for hot for Sunday. You can enjoy your snacks. You can incorporate them into a healthy lifestyle. Or if you do want that Sunday, have it once in a while.
Make better choices, as John
Yeah.
was saying. Now we have access to potato chips made with avocado oil, with olive oil. So reach for those.
Yeah, I think also just to add to it, it's just the whole mentality or idea of calling food healthy or unhealthy can be confusing, and in some cases can lead to negative impact on a lot of people, right? So maybe not calling food healthy, unhealthy, or putting that label on it, it could be confusing, and people are trying to avoid certain food, and then once they eat it, they feel guilty, right? So to me, there's no bad, there's no good. They're all food. They all provide energy. They all provide nutrition. You could always make better choices because you had different goals. Your point of life, right? So, but
Yeah, and to conclude on that, food should be enjoyable too. So
right,
I think oftentimes when we limit ourselves, it doesn't become enjoyable. So we want to eat foods that make us feel good, and maybe sometimes it might be a little bit outside of what we normally have, a treat, for example, but it should be enjoyable. Food is also, for social connections, to being with others,
Right.
for sharing. So, what is it providing you basically? And if it's just a nice treat and it makes you feel good sometimes, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, as Wilson mentioned.
And say you have a cupcake in the fridge and you're stressing about eating that for like an hour. That stress is much more dangerous than eating the cupcake.
Yeah.
Just go for the cupcake. Don't
Yes,
stress about it.
agree.
and also there's you got to keep in mind that there's a huge difference between eating a piece of cake and eating
Yeah,
the whole pie.
one
Right?
cupcake.
So keep that in mind. Right? So if you eat just a piece of cake, that's probably not going to have so much of an impact. But eating the whole thing, now that's a whole different story.
And that's why we eat those snacks after a meal, right? Like, don't have that cake on an empty stomach, because then, yeah, of course you're going to probably want the second or third slice, right? Have your meal, enjoy that, and then enjoy your treat afterwards.
It's good.
How essential is fasting for nutrition?
I don't think. Well, I'll put it this way. I think it's one of those kind of trains out there that may be good for some people. However, I personally think that it's not superior than the standard diet, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No, fasting has a lot of benefits, and it's true. In terms of controlling your blood sugar, in terms of helping you lose weight, and things like that. But if you think about it, why it works? Because essentially you are reducing the calories. That's it, right? It works because you're reducing the calories. You pretty much skip a whole meal, right? You reduce the calories, and therefore you lose weight, or your blood sugar get better. But if you compare that to a standard meal pattern like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you equate the calories, you're gonna see similar results. And in fact, you can feel more energetic if you don't skip meals. Because now your body is constantly getting nutrients to support your daily activities and things like that, depending on what you do. Now, it is one of those diets that it's good. It has some beneficial. I would say that it's something that is there that we can use in the toolbox that you can use for some people if that is their preference. But I want to emphasize that it's not superior than a regular meal pattern, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're all good.
And also the time. I'm sorry. The timing is important because if you finish eating 3 hours before you go to bed, have a good night's sleep, you're gonna get almost a 12-hour fast in naturally, and you're gonna get some benefits of what he was talking about with blood sugar control, insulin. So that's another big aspect of it. So don't continuously eat until you're ready to go to bed. Give your digestive system a rest.
Also, I think fasting doesn't work with everyone. You have to be able to control your meals, what you eat, in that window that you give yourself. Some people cannot fast, and they might overeat when it's time for them to eat. And they don't
That is also another. You could go that route too. If you want to skip the meals, then you waiting until you're super hungry, then you end up overeating on the next meal. That could be possible, but if you plan it, it could work too. So.
What are basic guidelines for protein and or daily fiber intake?
I want to highlight fiber. So
She likes
protein
fiber.
is definitely always going to be at the start of the show for many, but when we really overemphasize protein, we're missing on fiber. And oftentimes fiber, we think about it as, okay, it's the thing that keeps me regular, right? I know that there's some supplements, it makes me go, but it's so much more powerful than that. And the average American is actually fiber deficient, right? More than half of Americans are not meeting the requirements for fiber needs, which is usually a range for really from 25 and upwards, right? 38 grams, for example, 25 to 38 grams. And it might vary, but the more fiber we have, the more health improvements we can see. So what is fiber? Fiber really is an undigestible carb that oftentimes just comes solely from plant foods. So this is why they're also emphasized often. You won't find fiber in other foods. So fruits, vegetables, whole grains, starchy vegetables, anything really you can think of that comes from a plant. And really, fiber works wonders for our health. Why? It supports good digestion, it feeds our good gut bacteria, it lowers cholesterol, it helps with blood sugar management, and I could keep going and talk about fiber for so long, but it is something that we're actually lacking. So this is what we should actually, turn around and say, all right, I don't think I'm eating so much fiber. How can I start to do this? I would say that if we're not consuming enough fiber already, we just want to do it gradually, because it is true that we can bombard and overwhelm our digestive system. We might feel unwell, especially with things like legumes and beans, but there's strategies to be able to really help that process and like having them more. But gradually, lots of water, some movement. There are nice cooking strategies to really help mitigate some of the side effects or kind of symptoms of bloating and gas when it comes to eating fiber. But 25 grams or more and upwards, reach for more than that if possible. That can really promote good health.
Wow.
I was going to say the protein will take care of itself if you have it breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and protein with snacks. You'll cover your bases.
Right, and the standard American diet does provide more than enough protein.
What are some diet fads to avoid in order to maintain a healthy lifestyle?
Most of them.
You said diet fads?
Yeah.
I heard something about the South Beach diet.
That's a
Low carbs or keto diet, and I think that some of this diet may have a purpose for like very small specific population, like people with epilepsy, maybe, maybe the keto may be very beneficial, but the ketogenic diet is very restrictive, very, very restrictive. So, and also just to say that people saying that they're following the keto diet, probably not following a true ketogenic diet, right? Because they're still eating a lot of carbs, right? And then they're producing those ketones, not producing those ketones anyway. So I say, they're not, the keto maybe one of them, the South Beach maybe one of them,
Carnivore.
the carnivore.
Anything that stresses one food over another,
Going to
or
the
is very
extreme.
limited, usually it's not the healthiest and not sustainable either.
Right. It's not
Yeah.
sustainable.
And agreed, going back to the food pyramid, there is an emphasis on, saturated fat intake, but it kind of contradicts itself because we're recommended to limit saturated fat, yet we're encouraged to choose saturated fat sources on the food pyramid that was, updated. So that can be really confusing for consumers, but unfortunately saturated fat is really one of those nutrients that if we have in excess can really, start to increase our risk of chronic diseases, high cholesterol, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes. So I would say carnivore diet is definitely one of those that can be potentially really dangerous and even increase risks for like colorectal cancer and things like that due to the lack of fiber.
What are some tips for gut health?
Fiber. Say it all at once. Fiber.
Fiber is the way to go for gut.
Also, fermented foods, sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt, kefir, very beneficial.
That is true.
Yeah, and fiber really, it's fermented by our gut bacteria. So it breaks down into like little short chain fatty acids. It feeds that good bacteria, which is oftentimes why fiber is also recommended. And that's often not well known, and also the fermented foods, of course, absolutely.
And just a word about sauerkraut, it's not the canned sauerkraut. You need to get it refrigerated for it to be active. The canned one is just salty cabbage.
Kefir and yogurt.
So I guess this can be our final question, and it'll be for all of you all. If you can give one message to people about nutrition, what would it be?
Don't overcomplicate it. Keep things more simple and just try to eat more whole foods.
I would say consistency is better than perfection. Right? Try to stay consistent. That's always going to be better. Right? Don't try to make the perfect meal. Right? Yeah, it looks good, but if you're not going to be able to sustain that for the rest of your life, what's good that's going to be, right? So consistency, right? And try to slowly add more fiber, protein to your diet, and keep it, and do it in a way that is going to be consistent and sustainable, right? And again, consistency better than perfection.
Also, eat slowly. Chew your food, eat slowly, relax when you eat. That's really important for just digestion, to give your body the signal that it's full, for not overeating. So that's one thing, mindful eating kind of stuff.
Okay, mine will be you are what you eat.
Controversial,
Controversial, but I like that one.
That's nice. All right. Mine is nutrition is very individual and it looks different for everyone. So it's not one size fits all. We all have nutritional needs, preferences, cultural foods, and the list goes on. So it's always going to be very individualized. What works for someone else might not work for you.
That is true.
Well, I want to say thank you for coming here to our talk. Q&A, these questions were amazing. And of course, if you ever need any of us to help and assist, you can always look for us at Jacoby North Central Bronx. And of course, we'll also put in our chat the telephone number for Lifestyle Medicine as well. And then, of course, if you're ever in the neighborhood, you can always just knock on our door. So,
For sure. For sure.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Happy Nutrition Month.
See you next year.
Thank you.
Take care.